The red sun of Kepler 4 for 2b was setting behind the Rocky Mountains when Nari Kim heard the sound. She stopped walking and listened carefully. It was not the usual noise of the mining machines or the wind through the metal buildings. This sound was different. It was like crying, but deeper and more strange. Nari was walking back to the colony. After checking the water pipes on the far side of the settlement, she was tired and wanted to go home, but the sound made her curious. Her grandmother always told her that curiosity would get her in trouble one day. Maybe today was that day. The sound came again. It was coming from behind the big rocks near the old mining shaft. Nari looked around. The colony buildings were far away now. The other workers had already gone inside for dinner. She was alone out here in the growing darkness. She should go back. That was the smart thing to do. Do-yeon Park, her supervisor, always told the workers to stay away from the colony edges after dark. Wild animals lived out there, he said. Dangerous things that could hurt people. But the sound came again, and this time Nari could tell it was definitely crying. Something was hurt and in pain. She could not just walk away from that Nar, opened her tool bag and took out her flashlight. The bright beam cut through the dark air as she walked toward the rocks. Her boots made small sounds on the rocky ground. She tried to walk quietly, but it was hard with all the loose stones. As she got closer to the big rocks, the crying sound got louder. Now she could hear something else too. Heavy breathing, like something big was trying to catch its breath. Nari felt scared, but she kept walking. She climbed over a small rock and pointed her flashlight ahead. What she saw made her stop and hold her breath. There was an animal lying on the ground between two large rocks, but it was not like any animal she had ever seen. It was big, maybe as big as her. It had thick fur that looked silver in the flashlight. Its head was long like a wolf, but bigger, much bigger. Its ears were pointed and moved when they heard her footsteps. The creature turned its head to look at her. Its eyes were bright yellow and very intelligent. Too intelligent for a normal animal. These eyes looked at her like they were thinking, like they understood things. Nari saw the problem right away. The creature's front paw was caught under a big rock. The rock was too heavy for the animal to move by itself. Dark blood was on the ground around the paw. The creature had been trying to get free for a long time. The animal made a low sound when it saw her, not angry, not threatening, just tired and hurt, and maybe a little hopeful. Nari knew she should run away. This was clearly not a normal animal. It was too big, too smart. It might be one of those dangerous creatures Do-yeon always warned them about. But when she looked at those yellow eyes, she did not see danger. She saw pain and fear, and something that looked almost like embarrassment. The creature was proud. She could tell it did not like being helpless like this. It did not like needing help from anyone, especially not from a strange small being like her. Nari made her decision. She walked closer, moving slowly so she would not scare the animal. She kept her flashlight pointed down so the light would not hurt its eyes. "Hey there," she said softly. "Come here, fluffy little thing. Your paw looks hurt." The creature made a sound that might have been laughter if it came from a human. Little thing, those yellow eyes seemed to say. It was much bigger than her, but Nari was not thinking about size. She was thinking about the hurt paw and how to help. She put her flashlight on the ground and opened her tool bag again. She always carried a small medical kit for emergencies. Working in the mines was dangerous, and cuts and bruises happened all the time. The creature watched her every move as she took out bandages and antiseptic spray. Its ears moved forward with interest. It had never seen a human before, and it was curious about what she was doing. Nari knelt down near the trapped paw. The creature tensed up, ready to fight if she tried to hurt it. But Nari just looked at the rock and the paw underneath it. "This is going to hurt a little," she told the creature, even though she was sure it could not understand her words. "But I need to move this rock to help you." She put her hands on the big rock and pushed with all her strength. It was very heavy, but it moved a little bit. The creature helped by pulling its paw at the same time. After a few tries, the paw came free. The creature pulled its hurt paw close to its body and looked at the damage. The paw was badly cut and swollen. It would be hard to walk on for many days. Nari moved closer with her medical supplies. The creature watched her carefully but did not try to move away. It seemed to understand that she was trying to help. "This might sting," Nari said as she sprayed antiseptic on the cuts. The creature made a sharp sound but held still. Then she wrapped the paw carefully with clean bandages. When she was finished, Nari sat back and looked at her work. The bandage was neat and clean. The bleeding had stopped. It was good work, she thought. The creature looked at its bandaged paw, then at Nari. Those intelligent yellow eyes seemed full of confusion. Why had this small human helped it? What did she want in return? In the creature's world, nothing was free. Help always came with a price. Kindness was weakness. The strong took what they wanted from the weak. But this human was clearly weak compared to him, yet she had helped him without asking for anything. Nari packed up her medical supplies and stood up there, she said. That should feel better soon. Try not to walk on it too much for a few days. She picked up her flashlight and started to walk away. Behind her, the creature made a soft sound. When she turned around, it was sitting up, watching her go. It lifted one front paw in what might have been a wave or a salute. Nari smiled and waved back. Then she walked back toward the colony, leaving the strange creature alone in the darkness. She did not know that she had just changed the course of history for 2 entire species. She did not know that the creature she had helped was a scout from a powerful alien military force. She did not know that his people were planning to attack her colony in just a few weeks. All she knew was that something had been hurt, and she had helped it. That was what humans did. That was what made them special in a galaxy full of creatures who thought only of themselves. The creature watched her small light disappear into the distance. Then it stood up carefully, testing its bandaged paw. The human's medicine was already working. The pain was less than before. The creature had much to think about as it made its way slowly back to its hidden ship. The human had called him a fluffy little thing. If his pack brothers heard that, they would laugh for days, but they would not be laughing when he told them what the human had done. They would not believe that one of the feared humans had shown kindness to an enemy. They would want to see proof. The creature looked down at the clean white bandage on its paw. Here was all the proof he needed. Every day after work, she found reasons to walk near the big rocks where she had helped it. She told herself she was just checking the water pipes or looking for equipment problems. But really, she wanted to see if the creature was okay. On the 3rd day, she found it waiting for her. The creature was sitting behind the same rocks, but this time it was not trapped or hurt. It was just sitting there, watching the path she always took. When Nari appeared, the creature lifted its bandaged paw and made a soft sound. Nari was surprised and a little scared. The creature was much bigger when it was sitting up healthy. Its shoulders were wide and strong. Its teeth were sharp and white, but its yellow eyes looked friendly, not dangerous. "Hello again," Nari said softly. "Would you like me to change that for you?" The creature seemed to think about this. Then it moved closer, very slowly. It stopped a few feet away and held out its paw. Nari knelt down and carefully removed the old bandage. The cuts were healing well. The swelling was almost gone. "This looks much better," she said as she cleaned the paw and put on a new bandage. When she was finished, the creature made a sound that was almost like a purr. It touched its nose to Nari's hand very gently, then moved back to a safe distance. From that day on, Nari visited the creature every evening. She started bringing extra food from the colony cafeteria. The creature seemed to like the meat sandwiches best, but it would eat almost anything she brought. Communication was hard at first. Nari would talk to the creature in simple words, and it would make different sounds back. After a few days, she started to understand what some of the sounds meant. A low rumble meant it was happy. When Nari said food, it would sit up and look at her. Bag. When she said careful, it would slow down and be more gentle. When she said good, it would make the happy rumbling sound. Nari learned things about the creature too. It did not like loud noises or bright lights. It was very clean and would wash itself in the small stream nearby. It was curious about everything she brought, but it was always polite and careful not to hurt her with its big claws. Also started teaching Nari things. It would point with its nose at different objects and make sounds. When Nari repeated the sound, the creature would make the happy rumble. Slowly, Nari learned that the creature called itself something that sounded like Howl. "Howl," Nari said one evening. "Is that your name?" Howl made the happy sound and nodded. Then he pointed at her with his nose and made a questioning sound. "Nari," she said, pointing to herself. "My name is Nari." Howl tried to say her name, but it came out as a sort of musical howl. Nari laughed, and Howl seemed pleased that he had. Made her happy. They started drawing pictures in the dirt to help communicate. Nari would draw simple shapes and point to things. His drawings were much better than hers. One day, Howl drew a picture of the night sky. He pointed up at the stars, then at his picture, then at himself. Nari understood. Howl was not from this planet. He came from somewhere out there among the stars. This should have frightened Nari, but it did not. Howl was her friend now. "You disappear right after dinner, and don't come back until dark." "I just like to walk," Nari said. "It helps me think." Gion looked at her suspiciously. "You have dirt under your fingernails." It looked hungry. "There are no cats on this planet," Gion said. "The only animals here are supposed to be small and harmless." Minho Lee, the colony security chief, was also getting suspicious. He had noticed Neris' evening walks too. Minho did not like things he could not explain. It was his job to keep everyone safe, and people acting strange made him worried. "I want you to stay inside the colony boundaries after dark," Minho told Neri one day. "There have been reports of strange sounds coming from the outer areas. Might be dangerous." Nari felt panic rise in her chest. "What kind of sounds?" Howling Minho said. "Like wolves, but bigger, much bigger." That evening, Nari waited until everyone was asleep before sneaking out to meet Howl. She had to be more careful now. If Minho caught her, she would be in big trouble. Howl was waiting in their usual spot. He seemed agitated about something. Kept looking up at the stars and making worried sounds. Then he drew arrows pointing toward the colony. He looked at Nari with his yellow eyes full of worry. Nari felt cold fear in her stomach. "Your people," she said slowly. "They're coming here." Howl nodded sadly. He drew more pictures, trying to explain. His people were looking for him. They thought the humans had captured him or hurt him. They were angry and wanted to fight. "But you're not captured," Nari said. "You're free. You're here because you want to be." Howl made a sound that was almost like a sigh. He drew a picture of himself, trying to talk to the other creatures, but they were not listening. They were too angry to hear the truth. Nari understood the problem. They did not know that humans could be kind and gentle. They only knew that their scout was missing, and they wanted revenge. "How long do we have?" Nari asked. Howl held up his claws. "First, one paw, then the other, then the first again," Nari counted. 15 days, maybe less. 15 days before Howl's people arrived to attack the colony. 15 days to figure out how to prevent a war between two species who did not understand each other. Nari looked at her friend, this strange and wonderful creature who had taught her so much about communication and trust. Howl had risked everything. To keep meeting with her, he could have gone back to his people weeks ago, but he stayed because he wanted to learn about humans. Now, it was Nera's turn to risk everything. She had to find a way to show both sides that they did not have to be enemies. She had to prove that understanding was possible, even between creatures as different as humans and whatever species Howl belonged to. But first, she had to figure out how to tell the colony leaders about Howl without getting herself arrested, or getting Howl hurt. The next morning, Nari went to work with a heavy heart and a mind full of impossible plans. She had 2 weeks to prevent a war, and she had no idea how to do it. But she had to try. For Howl, for her colony, for both their peoples. The friendship they had built was proof that it could be done. She just hoped that proof would be enough. 1 month had passed since Nari first found Howl trapped under the rock. The friendship between them had grown strong, but the danger was getting closer every day. Howl was becoming more worried. He would pace back and forth during their evening meetings, looking up at the stars with fear in his yellow eyes. Sometimes he would howl softly, as if he was calling to someone far away, but no one answered. Nari could see that her friend was in pain, but not the kind of pain that bandages could fix. This was the pain of being caught between two worlds. Howl loved his people, but he also cared about the humans now. He did not want anyone to get hurt. "Tell me about your people," Nari said one evening. They were sitting by the small stream where Howl liked to drink. "What are they like?" Howl thought for a moment, then began drawing in the dirt. He drew pictures of creatures like himself, but they were carrying strange objects that looked like weapons. He drew buildings that were tall and curved, very different from the square human buildings then. Hal did something that surprised Nari. He picked up a small rock and threw it high into the air. While it was falling, he made a sound like a weapon firing. The rock exploded into dust before it hit the ground. Nari stared at the empty space where the rock had been. "How did you do that?" Howell pointed to a small device on his neck that Nari had thought was just decoration. It was made of metal that seemed to change color in the light. Now she realized it was some kind of technology. "Your people have weapons like that?" she asked. Howell nodded sadly. He drew more pictures showing flying ships and energy weapons. His people were not just smart animals, as the humans had assumed. They were an advanced civilization with technology that could destroy the mining colony in minutes. "Why haven't you told me this before?" Nari asked. Hal made a sound that was almost like a laugh, but not happy. He pointed at himself, then at the human colony, then made a gesture like an explosion. He was trying to say that if the humans knew how dangerous his people were, they would never trust him. Nari felt scared, but also sad for her friend. Howell had been protecting the humans by keeping this secret. He knew that fear would destroy any chance of peace between their peoples, but now time was running out. The next morning, Nari went to work feeling sick with worry. She kept making mistakes with her equipment checks. She dropped tools and forgot to write down important measurements. "Are you feeling okay?" asked Do-Yeon Park, her supervisor. "You look like you didn't sleep well." "I'm fine," Nari lied, "just tired." But Do-Yeon was not convinced. He had been watching Nari for weeks, and he knew something was wrong. After work, he decided to follow her. Nari. I thought she was being careful as she walked to meet Howell, but Do-Yeon was good at staying hidden. He followed her all the way to the big rocks without being seen. When Do-Yeon saw Nari talking to the giant wolf-like creature, he almost made a sound of surprise. He had to cover his mouth with his hand to stay quiet. The creature was enormous, much bigger than any animal that was supposed to live on this planet. But what shocked Do-Yeon even more was how gentle the creature was being with Nari. It was not acting like a wild animal. It was acting like a person. It was drawing pictures in the dirt and making sounds that seemed almost like language. Do-Yeon watched for 20 minutes, trying to understand what he was seeing. Finally, he could not stay quiet anymore. He stood up from behind his hiding rock. "Nari," he called. "What is that thing?" Nari jumped and spun around. When she saw Do-Yeon, her face went pale. "Do-Yeon? I can explain." Hal also saw the new human. He stood up to his full height and moved protectively in front of Nari. He made a low warning sound. "It's okay," Nari said quickly to both of them. "Do-Yeon is my friend. He won't hurt you." But Do-Yeon was not feeling friendly. He was feeling scared and confused and angry. "Nari, get away from that thing right now. It's dangerous." "No, he's not," Nari said. "His name is Howell. He's my friend." "Friends don't have claws and teeth like that," Do-Yeon said. He was reaching for his emergency radio to call for help. Hal saw the radio and understood what it meant. If more humans came, they would try to capture him or kill him. He could not let that happen. His people needed to know the truth about humans before they attacked. Hal moved faster than Do-Yeon had ever seen anything move. In one quick motion, he knocked the radio out of Do-Yeon's hand and pinned the human to the ground. But he was careful not to hurt him. "Please don't call for help," Nari said to Do-Yeon. "Let me explain everything." Do-Yeon was breathing hard with fear, but he nodded. Howell slowly let him go and stepped back. For the next hour, Nari told Do-Yeon everything. She explained how she had found Howell injured, how they had become friends, how Howell had taught her about his people and their advanced technology. "His people are coming here," Nari said. "They think we captured Howell. They're planning to attack the colony to rescue him." Do-Yeon looked at Howell with new understanding. "How long do we have?" Howell held up his claws. 7 days. 7 days, Do-Yeon repeated. "And you think we can convince them not to attack?" "Howell doesn't want his people to hurt us," Nari said. "But he also doesn't want humans to hurt his people. He's trying to find a way to make peace." Do-Yeon was quiet for a long time, thinking. Finally, he looked at Howell. "Can you show me more of your technology?" Howell looked at Nari, who nodded encouragingly. Then he touched the device on his neck. The air around him began to shimmer, and suddenly there were 3 Howells standing there. Do-Yeon gasped. Holographic projection. Two of the Howls disappeared, leaving only the real one. Then Howl pointed up at the sky. A small light appeared, moving slowly across the stars. It looked like a satellite, but Nari knew it was something else. That's his ship, she said. He's been hiding it this whole time. Doyen stared at the light in the sky. A real alien spaceship. The implications were enormous. We have to tell the colony leaders, he said. They need to know what's coming. They won't believe us, Nari said. They'll think we're crazy. Then we'll have to show them, Doyen said. He looked at Howl. Would you be willing to meet with our leaders to try to explain? Howl made a sound that was full of doubt. He had seen how Dojan reacted to him at first. Other humans would be even more afraid. It's the only way, Nuri said. If we can show them that you're intelligent, that you don't want to hurt anyone, maybe they'll listen. Howl looked up at the stars where his people's ships were getting closer every day. Then he looked at Nari, the human who had shown him kindness. When he was helpless, finally, he looked at Doyun, who was still afraid but was trying to be brave. Howl nodded slowly. He would take the risk. The next morning, Doyun arranged a meeting with Sunmi Choi, the colony administrator. He told her that he had important information about a threat to the colony, but he did not tell her what kind of threat. This better be good, Sunmi said, as she followed Doyan and Nari to the meeting place. I have a lot of work to do. When they reached the rocks where Howl was waiting, Sunmi stopped walking. She stared at the giant alien creature with her mouth open. What is that? She whispered. That is why we need to talk, Doyan said, and we need to do it quickly. We have 6 days to prevent a war. Howl stepped forward and bowed his head respectfully. To Sunmi, then he began to draw pictures in the dirt, trying to explain why his people were coming, and what the humans could do to stop them. Sunmi watched in amazement as the alien creature drew maps of the star system and diagrams of spaceships. This was not just an animal. This was a person from another world trying to save both their peoples from a terrible mistake. 6 days, she said finally. 6 days to figure out how to talk to aliens who think we're their enemies. Howl can help us, Nari said. He knows his people. He can teach us how to communicate with them. Sunmi looked at Howl, who was still drawing pictures and making soft sounds. Does he really think this will work? Howl looked up at her with his intelligent yellow eyes. He made a sound that was full of hope and fear and determination. Then he drew one more picture in the dirt. It was a picture of humans and his people, standing together under the stars. Yes, Nari said, understanding. He thinks it will work. He has to believe it will work. Because if it didn't, everyone she cared about would be dead in less than a week. 3 days before the planned attack, the colony was in chaos. Sunmi Choi had called an emergency meeting with all the senior staff. The meeting room was full of worried voices and confused faces. Let me understand this correctly, said Woojin. Jung, the territorial governor, who had just arrived from the main planet. You're telling me that we're about to be attacked by intelligent aliens, and our only warning comes from befriending one of them? That's exactly what I'm telling you, Sunmi replied. She looked tired. The past 3 days had been the hardest of her life. Minho Lee, the security chief, was pacing around the room. This is insane. We have no proof except the word of some animal that one of our workers has been feeding. Howl is not an animal, Nari said firmly. He's intelligent. He has technology we can barely understand, and he's trying to save all of us. Show them, Dojan said to Nari. Show them what Howl can do. Nari had brought some of Howl's drawings to the meeting. She spread them out on the table. The drawings showed detailed maps of the star system, technical diagrams of spacecraft engines, and mathematical equations that made the colony's scientists very interested. These calculations are incredible, said Giano, studying the drawings. The mathematical concepts here are far beyond what we can do. No human drew these. Hyunwoo Nam, the maintenance worker, was looking at the spacecraft diagrams. Engine designs would work. Governor Woojin was still not convinced. Even if this creature is intelligent, how do we know it's telling the truth? Maybe this is all a trick to make us lower our defenses, because Howl could have killed me any time in the past month, Nari said. He's bigger and stronger and faster than any human. He has weapons we don't understand. If he wanted to hurt us, he would have done it already. She's right, Doyan added. I saw him move. He could have seriously hurt me when I surprised them, but he was very careful not to harm me. Sunmi looked around the room at all the worried faces. What are our options? We can't fight against advanced alien technology. Our mining equipment won't help us against energy weapons. We could evacuate, suggested Minho. Get everyone off the planet before they arrive. Where would we go? Asked Wujin. The nearest colony is 6 months away by spaceship. We don't have enough fuel or supplies for everyone. Earth is 12 light years away, Jian said. Even if they sent help immediately, it would take years to get here. The room fell quiet as everyone realized how helpless they were. If Howl's people really were coming to attack, there was nothing the humans could do to stop them. There is one option, Nari said softly. We could try to talk to them. Talk to them? Minho laughed bitterly. How do we talk to aliens who want to kill us? Howl can translate for us, Nari explained. He understands both languages now. He could help us explain that we're not their enemies. It's too dangerous, Wujin said. We can't risk exposing our people to hostile aliens. We're already exposed, Sunmi pointed out. They're coming whether we like it or not. At least this way we have a chance. The debate went on for hours. Some people thought they should try to hide and hope the aliens would go away. Others wanted to fight, even though they knew they would lose. A few brave people agreed with Nari. That talking was their only real hope. Finally, Sunmi made the decision. We'll try Neris's plan. We'll attempt to communicate with them when they arrive. This is madness, Wujin said. I'm ordering an immediate evacuation of all non-essential personnel. You can order it, Sunmi replied, but there's nowhere for them to go. Our ships are too small and too slow. The aliens would catch them before they got anywhere safe. That evening, Nari went to meet Howl as usual, but this time she was not alone. Doyan, Gian, and Hyunwoo came with her. They wanted to meet the alien who might be their only hope of survival. Howl was nervous about meeting more humans, but he trusted Nari. When she introduced her friends, Howl bowed politely to each of them. Ask him about his people, Gian said. What are they like? How do they think? Nari translated the question. Howl drew pictures showing his people as proud warriors who valued honor above everything else. They believed that strength should protect the weak and that enemies should be fought bravely. They think we captured you and tortured you, Hyunwoo said. How can we convince them that's not true? Howl thought about this for a long time. Then he drew a picture of himself standing with the humans, showing that he was free and unharmed. But he made sad sounds as he drew, and Nari understood why. He says his people won't believe it at first, she translated. They'll think we forced him to lie for us. In their culture, enemies sometimes torture prisoners to make them say false things. Then how do we prove we're telling the truth? Dojan asked. Howl drew another picture. This one showed a human taking care of a hurt alien, just like Nari had. Taking care of him, he pointed to his paw, which was now completely healed thanks to Neris's medical care. He says we need to show them kindness, Nari said. Not just with words, but with actions. We need to prove that humans help others even when those others are different from us. What if they don't give us a chance to prove anything? Gian asked. What if they attack as soon as they see us? Howl made a sound that was full of sadness and worry. He drew a picture of spaceships firing weapons at the colony buildings. Then he drew himself standing between the ships and the colony, trying to stop the attack. He's going to try to protect us, Nari realized. He's going to put himself in danger to give us a chance to talk. The four humans looked at their alien friend with new respect. Howl was willing to risk his life for people he had known for only a month. He was willing to stand against his own people to protect strangers from another world. Why? Doyen asked. Why would you do that for us? Howl looked at Nari and made the happy, rumbling sound he always made when he was with her. Then he pointed to his healed paw and drew a picture of the knight. When she had first helped him, Nari felt tears in her eyes as she understood. He says it's because of what I did that first night. When I helped him, even though I was scared, he says that showed him what humans are really like. One act of kindness, Gian whispered. One moment of compassion, and now he's willing to risk everything to save us. That's what makes humans special, Hyunwoo said. We help others even when it's dangerous or difficult. Howl nodded as if he understood what Hyunwoo had said. Then he drew one final picture. It showed his people's ships arriving in 2 days. But instead of showing destruction, the picture showed aliens and humans standing together, each other. "Is that really possible?" Nari asked. Hal looked up at the stars, where his people's ships were racing toward them. His yellow eyes were full of hope and fear and determination. He made a sound that needed no translation. It meant we have to try. 2 days later, the ships would arrive. 2 days to prepare for the most important conversation in human history. 2 days to prove that understanding was stronger than fear, and that kindness could triumph over hatred. Nari looked at her friends, both human and alien, and felt something she had not felt in weeks. Hope, maybe, just maybe, they could make this work. The ships arrived at dawn. NAR. I was standing on the colony's observation deck with the other leaders when the alien fleet appeared in the sky. There were 12 ships, each one bigger than the entire human colony. They moved without sound, floating. Above the ground, like silver clouds, the ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Their surfaces seemed to flow like liquid metal, changing shape as they moved. Lights pulsed along their sides in patterns that looked almost like heartbeats. "My God," whispered Governor Woojin. "They're magnificent and terrifying," added Minho. Checking his weapons for the 10th time that morning, the largest ship landed in the open area outside the colony walls. The other ships formed a circle around it, their weapons pointed at the human buildings. The message was clear: surrender or be destroyed. Hal stood beside Nari, looking up at his people's ships with sadness in his yellow eyes. Nari said softly, "Are you ready?" Hal made a sound that was part fear and part determination. He had not seen his people for over a month. He did not know how they would react to him or to the humans he was trying to protect. A door opened in the side of the largest ship. Aliens began pouring out, and Nari got her first look at Hal's people in large numbers. They were impressive and frightening. Each one was as big as Hal, with thick silver fur and bright yellow eyes. They moved with the confident grace of natural predators. They carried weapons that glowed with energy, and they wore armor that seemed to be made of the same flowing metal as their ships. The alien leader was easy to identify. He was larger than the others, with scars across his face and arms that spoke of many battles. His fur was darker, almost black, and his eyes burned with anger. "That's Fang," Hal said in his limited human words. "Pack leader, very angry." Fang raised his weapon and pointed it at the colony. The other aliens did the same. In seconds, they could destroy every human building and kill everyone inside. But before Fang could give the order to attack, Hal stepped forward. "Wait!" he called out in his own language. His voice was strong and clear, carrying across the open ground between the ships and the colony. Fang turned toward the sound. When he saw Hal standing with the humans, his eyes widened with surprise, and then narrowed with suspicion. Fang said something in the alien language that sounded harsh and angry. Even without understanding the words, Nari could tell he was demanding to know why Hal was with the humans instead of being held prisoner. Hal replied calmly, gesturing toward Nari and the other humans. He was explaining what had really happened, how the humans had helped him instead of hurting him. But Fang was not listening. He snarled something that made all the other aliens point their weapons at Hal. Nari realized with horror that they thought Hal had betrayed them. An older alien stepped forward from the group. This one had white fur and moved more slowly than the others. But when he spoke, all the other aliens became quiet and respectful. "That's Moonhal," Hal told Nari quietly. "Elder, very wise." He listened to truth. Moonhal spoke to Hal in a voice that was deep and measured. He was asking questions, trying to understand what had happened. Hal answered honestly, pointing to his healed paw and then to Nari. He told the story of how she had found him trapped and injured and how she had helped him without asking for anything in return. Some of the younger aliens made sounds of disbelief. In their world, such kindness from an enemy was impossible to imagine. But Moonhal was interested. He walked closer to the humans, studying them with ancient, intelligent eyes. When he reached Nari, he stopped and spoke directly to her. "He wants to know if you're the one who helped Hal," Nari's friend translated. Nari nodded, trying not to show how frightened she was. Moonhal was even more impressive up close. His presence was commanding, like a grandfather who had seen everything the universe had to offer. Moonhal said something else, and Hal translated. He says, "You are very small to be so brave." "Tell him I wasn't being brave," Nari replied. "I was just doing what felt right." When Hal translated this, several aliens made surprised sounds. Moonhowl's eyes grew wider with interest. "What feels right to you?" he asked through Howl. "Helping someone who is hurt," Nari said simply. "It doesn't matter who they are or where they come from. If someone needs help, you help them." Moonhowl was quiet for a long moment after hearing this. Then he turned and spoke to the other aliens in their language. There was a heated discussion, with many aliens talking at once. Fang was clearly angry about something. He kept pointing his weapon at the humans and snarling. But Moonhowl raised his hand, and Fang reluctantly lowered his weapon. Moonhowl wants proof. Howl explained to Nari, he wants to see human kindness, not just hear about it. "What kind of proof?" Nari asked, before Howl could answer. There was a commotion among the aliens. One of the younger ones had collapsed. Clutching his side, Nari could see blood seeping through his fur. "He's hurt," she said, taking a step forward. Immediately, 20 alien weapons pointed at her. Fang snarled a warning, but Nari did not stop. She reached into her bag and pulled out her medical kit, the same one she had used to help Howl weeks. "Agoa can help him," she said to Moonhowl through Howl's translation. The aliens looked confused and suspicious. Why would an enemy want to help one of their wounded? Moonhowl studied Nari for a long moment. Then he spoke to his people. Reluctantly, they lowered their weapons and allowed Nari to approach the injured alien. The young alien's wound was deep, probably from an accident on one of the ships. Nari cleaned it carefully and applied antiseptic, just as she had done for Howl. The injured alien watched her with amazement as she bandaged his wound with gentle, expert care. "There," Nari said when she was finished. "That should heal properly now. Keep it clean and dry." The young alien said something to Moonhowl, who translated through Howl. "He says the pain is much less now. He wants to know why you helped him, because he was hurt," Nari said, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Moonhowl looked around at his people. Many of them were staring at Nari with new expressions. The suspicion was still there. But now, it was mixed with confusion and curiosity. How could these humans be the cruel enemies they had been told about? Enemies did not heal the wounds of their captors. Enemies did not risk their lives to help strangers. Fang was still not convinced. He said something angry to Moonhowl, gesturing at the human colony. "Fang says this could still be a trick," Howl translated. "He says we should destroy the colony and take our people home." "Then let me go with you," Nari said suddenly. Everyone stared at her in shock, including the humans behind her. "Nari, no," Doyen said. "It's too dangerous." But Nari had made her decision. "If Fang thinks this is all a trick, then let me prove it's not. Let me come to your ship and show your people what humans are really like." Moonhowl looked very interested in this proposal. He spoke to the other aliens, and another heated discussion began. Fang was clearly against the idea, but some of the younger aliens, especially the one Nari had just helped, seemed to support it. Finally, Moonhowl raised his hand for silence. He spoke directly to Nari. "He says you would be willing to come alone as our guest," Howl translated. "Yes," Nari said, though her voice shook slightly. "I trust Howl, and he trusts you. That's enough for me." Moonhowl looked at this small human female who was willing to walk into a ship full of predators to prove that her people meant no harm. In all his long life, he had never seen such courage. He spoke to his people in their language. After a moment, even Fang nodded reluctantly. "He says you may come," Howl translated, "but if this is a trick, if you try to hurt anyone, the punishment will be severe." "I understand," Nari said. She turned to her human friends. "If something happens to me, remember what Howl taught us. Remember that understanding is possible." "Nothing will happen to you," Sunmi said firmly. "We'll be waiting right here for you to come back." Nari walked toward the alien ship with Howl beside her, and Moonhowl leading the way. Behind them, the other aliens followed, their weapons ready but no longer pointed at the humans. As they reached the ship's entrance, Nari looked back at her colony one more time. Then she stepped inside the alien vessel, becoming the first human to voluntarily enter the world of another species. Inside the ship, hundreds of alien eyes watched her every move. These were the moments that would determine the future of both Species Nari took a deep breath and began to show them what humanity was really about. Inside the alien ship, Nari felt like she was walking through a dream. The walls curved and flowed like water frozen in time. Soft lights pulsed in rhythm with sounds she could not identify. Everything was beautiful and strange, and slightly frightening. Of aliens lined the corridors, watching her pass. Their yellow eyes followed her every movement. Some looked curious, others suspicious, and a few seemed almost afraid of her. Nari realized that she was probably the first human these aliens had ever seen up close. To them, she must seem as strange and alien as they seemed to her. Moonhole led her to a large room at the center of the ship. The walls here were transparent, showing the landscape outside and the human colony in the distance. More aliens were gathered here, including what looked like the ship's crew and several other important leaders. Fang was already in the room, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. When he saw Nari enter, his lips pulled back to show his sharp teeth. Moonhowl spoke to the assembled aliens in their language. He was explaining who Nari was and why she was there. When he finished, the room erupted in voices as everyone tried to talk at once. "They're arguing about what to do with you," Hal explained quietly to Nari. "Some want to trust you. Others think this is still a trap." A young alien stepped forward from the crowd. He was smaller than the others, with bright silver fur and intelligent eyes. When he spoke, his voice was clear and strong. "That's Swiftclaw Hal," told Nari. "Fang's younger brother. He's always asking questions." Swiftclaw said something to Nari, looking directly at her as he spoke. "He wants to know why humans came to this planet," Howell translated. "He wants to know if you're planning to take over all the worlds in this system." Nari thought carefully before answering. "Tell him we came here looking for a new home. Our old world is getting crowded, and we need more space for our people. We don't want to take anyone else's worlds. We just want to find empty places where we can build new colonies." When Hal translated this, several aliens made sounds of disbelief. Empty planets were valuable. Why would anyone just give them away? "Tell him we're explorers, not conquerors," Nari continued. "We want to learn about the universe and meet new people. We want to make friends, not enemies." Swiftclaw listened to the translation, then asked another question. He wants to know what humans do when they meet people who are different from them, Hal said. Nari smiled sadly. "Tell him that humans don't always do the right thing. Sometimes we're afraid of people who are different, and fear makes us do stupid things. But the best of us try to learn and understand. We try to help each other, even when we're different." "Prove it," said a new voice. Another alien had stepped forward, this one older than Swiftclaw but younger than Moonhowl. His fur was marked with scars, and he walked with a slight limp. "That's Irontooth," Hal whispered. "He was hurt in a battle years ago. The wound never healed properly." Irontooth said something else, challenging Nari with his eyes. "He says words are easy," Howell translated. "He wants to see actions." Nari looked at Irontooth's injured leg. "May I examine his wound?" When Hal translated this, the room fell silent. Irontooth looked suspicious, but Moonhowl nodded encouragingly, knelt down beside Irontooth, and gently examined his leg. The injury was old, but it had never been properly treated. The bone had healed wrong, and there was still infection in the tissue. "I can help with this," Nari said. "It will take time, but I can reduce the pain and improve his movement." She opened her medical kit and began working. The antiseptic made Irontooth hiss with pain, but he held still as Nari cleaned the old wound. Then she applied a special bandage, designed to promote healing. "The infection should clear up in a few days," she told him through Howl. "After that, we can work on exercises to improve your movement." Irontooth tested his leg carefully. For the first time in years, the constant pain was reduced to a dull ache. "Why?" he asked through Howl. "Why help an enemy?" "You're not my enemy," Nari said simply. "You're hurt, and I can help. That's all that matters." The aliens in the room looked at each other with confusion and wonder. This human had willingly entered their ship, surrounded herself with creatures who could kill her in seconds, and used her time to heal their wounded. Fang said something angry, but his voice sounded less certain than before. "Fang says this proves nothing," Hal translated. "He says you might just be trying to make us lower our guard." "Then what would convince him?" Nari asked, Fang snarled and pointed at the transparent wall showing the human colony. He spoke rapidly. In his language, he says if humans are really peaceful, you should have no weapons, Hal translated. But your colony has defensive systems and security forces. Of course we do, Nari said. We protect ourselves because we don't know who we might meet out here. Some species might be friendly, others might not be. We prepare for both possibilities. So, you admit you were ready to fight us, Fang said through Howl. We were ready to defend ourselves if we had to, Nari agreed. But we would much rather be friends. Swiftclaw spoke up again, asking another question. He wants to know what humans would do if they found a species that was weaker than them, Hal said. Nar. I thought about this carefully. I hope we would help them and protect them, but I can't speak for all humans. Some of us are better than others. This honest answer seemed to surprise the aliens. They had expected her to claim that all humans were perfect. Moon Hal spoke for the first time since entering the room. His voice was thoughtful and measured. He says, honesty is the mark of wisdom, Hal translated. He's impressed that you admit your people have flaws. Everyone has flaws, Nari said. But that doesn't mean we should stop trying to be better. Moon Hal nodded slowly. Then he spoke to the other aliens in the room. The discussion that followed was long and intense. Voices were raised, paws were gestured, dramatically. And at one point, Fang and Swiftclaw seemed to be arguing directly with each other. Finally, Moon Hal raised his hand for silence. He spoke directly to Nari. He says the council has made a decision, Hal translated. They will not attack your colony. Nari felt relief flood through her body. Thank you. But, Hal continued, they want to send representatives to live among your people for a while. They want to learn more about humans before deciding on permanent peace. That sounds wonderful, Nari said. I'm sure our leaders would agree to that. Swiftclaw said something else, and Hal smiled as he translated. Swiftclaw volunteers to be one of the representatives. He wants to learn about human technology and culture, and Irontooth wants you to continue treating his leg, Hal added. He says if human medicine can fix old wounds, maybe humans aren't as weak as he thought. Even Fang seemed less hostile now. He spoke to Moon Howl, who nodded and replied. Fang says he still doesn't completely trust humans, Howl translated, but he admits that you've shown more courage than he expected. He agrees to try this exchange program. 6 months later, the mining colony had been transformed into something completely different. Now it was a diplomatic station, and Lupins worked together every day. Nari had become the head of interspecies relations, a job she never could have imagined when she first found Howl trapped under that rock. Her days were spent teaching humans about Lupin culture and helping Lupins understand human customs. Howl worked beside her as the official Lupin liaison. His English had improved dramatically, though he still sometimes made mistakes that made everyone laugh. The Lupins had a great sense of humor, something the humans hadn't expected. Swiftclaw had become fascinated with human engineering and was helping to design new machines that combined human creativity with Lupin technology. Irontooth's leg had healed completely, and he now taught combat techniques to human security officers who wanted to learn. Even Fang had warmed up to the humans, especially after Dojan challenged him to a wrestling match and actually managed to last 3 whole minutes before being defeated. The biggest change was in the attitudes of both species. Humans no longer saw the Lupins as dangerous monsters, and Lupins no longer viewed humans as weak prey. They were different, certainly, but those differences made them stronger when they worked together. News of the successful cooperation had spread throughout the galaxy. Other alien species were sending representatives to study this unprecedented peace between 2 very different civilizations. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't helped me that night? Howl asked Nari one evening as they watched the sunset together. Nar, I thought about it. I think someone else would have found a way to make peace eventually. Good people exist in every species. Maybe Howl said, but it was your kindness that made it possible. One human showing compassion to one hurt alien changed everything. It wasn't just me, Nari said. You chose to trust me too. You chose to believe that understanding was possible. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the red sun set behind the mountains. In the distance, human and Lupin children were playing together, learning each other's languages and games. What do you think will happen next? Nari asked. Howls Yellow eyes sparkled with excitement. "I heard that a new species was discovered in the Vega system. They're called the swimmers, and they live in the oceans of their world." "Swimmers," Nari repeated. "That sounds interesting." "Swimmers," Nari repeated. "That sounds interesting. The Diplomatic Council wants to send a joint human-Lupin mission to make first contact," Howell continued. "They want us to lead it." Nari smiled. "Another chance to prove that understanding is stronger than fear." "Another chance to make friends," Hal agreed. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Nari felt grateful for that night weeks ago, when she had heard crying coming from behind the rocks. She had thought she was just helping one hurt creature. But she had actually taken the first step toward a galaxy where different species could live together in peace. "Come here, fluffy little thing," she said to Howell, using the words that had started their friendship. Howell made his happy rumbling sound. "Your paw looks hurt," he replied, remembering her first words to him. They laughed together under the alien stars, two friends from different worlds who had proven that kindness could overcome any barrier. In the distance, new ships were appearing in the night sky. More species coming to learn about the remarkable partnership between humans and Lupins. The galaxy was full of possibilities, and for the first time in history, those possibilities included hope.